recording on OBS. And so this conversation will be published after the fact here on our YouTube notes channel. So anyone who's tuning in, if you have to duck out, then just head on over to the webinar chat probably tomorrow morning, and this conversation will be published there. But before I say anything else, I will let our speakers introduce themselves. On Clubhouse, we do this every Wednesday. So I thought, especially with the new feature on Discord to do Clubhouse style chats, we can migrate over here so we can get better recordings and hopefully reach a larger audience. But with that, I will let my speakers introduce themselves, and maybe we can start with Cynthia. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Jen, so much for putting this together. Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia Johnson, founder and CEO of Cindy J Cosmetic Labs LLC, and I have a custom formulation laboratory with helping startup brands, small businesses, and indie beauty brands with their hair care and skincare needs. Have been in business for 3 years now, but been in the cosmetic science industry for 6, going on 7 years. And it's just been a great journey, especially meeting other cosmetic chemists who look like me as well. So I'm definitely glad to be here.
Esther, would you like to go next?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Esther Olu. I'm also a cosmetic formulation chemist. I personally don't do custom formulations yet. I work right now in the manufacturing industry. So I do help currently working with estheticians and their businesses, any products that are carried in their spas. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. I also do side calming on Instagram at the Melanin Chemist. Yeah, that's it.
Eunice, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Eunice Cofie-Obeng. I'm the founder and chief cosmetic chemist of Nweki. Nweki is an innovative skincare brand for people of color. I have been working in cosmetic science for about 17 years, ever since I was in undergrad. And our company primarily focuses on addressing a lot of the common skin and hair disorders that you would see in skin of color, such as acne, hyperpigmentation, and melasma. So I'm excited about being here today, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
And then potentially finally, Cassandra, we might still be able to figure out how to get her into this room. Still a few glitches when she's listening to this after. I am so. Oh, there she is. Okay, I will invite her to the stage as Lalita. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. It's great to see some people from Clubhouse migrate on here to listen to us. Very much appreciated. I'm a cosmetic chemist as well, like everyone else. I am out here in the East Coast in Jersey. I've been a cosmetic chemist for a couple of years now. And I did my undergrad in chemistry and master's in biotechnology. And yeah, I've been a cosmetic chemist ever since.
And last but not least, Cassandra, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, sorry about that. I was trying to get on my phone, but I couldn't. I don't know why. Hi, I'm Cassandra Celestin. I'm the beauty chemist. I'm a cosmetic chemist, also a cosmetologist, trichologist, makeup artist. And I've been in this industry probably since high school. I started working at a salon when I was 14, and I fell in love with this industry. And I fell in love with chemistry way before that. But I like to get immersed in everything beauty, everything that helps people with their issues when it comes to hair, skincare, or just their outward appearance, maybe for a day or just for a lifetime, whatever it is. I have a consulting company, Beauty Alchemy Group, where I've been consulting for over 10 years in the areas of hair care and skincare. My niche in this area would be hair color and hair growth products. But I also specialize in makeup formulations and other aspects of personal care. And I'm happy to be here with all my other really great chemists on this panel. They're amazing people, and it's great to work with people that really understand what you do and can help you out in situations where you have to get the right information, the right product to make a masterpiece.
I am so happy that you were able to join. I have to figure out what was going on with the glitch with the phone. So leave that to me, and hopefully that won't happen again. Now, Eunice has done quite a bit of work in the area specifically around skin of color. I know you do quite a bit of training to estheticians on this topic specifically. So I guess I will direct this next question to you. What are some of the, I guess, physiological differences for people with, I guess, different pigmentation for their skin? Is it pronounced to the degree that we might have to have different skincare considerations? I know this is a pretty big question. But could you chime in?
Yeah. So, first, I always like to define what is skin of color. So, skin of color is defined as anyone with highly melanated skin, and specifically further defined as persons of African descent, Native American, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, Asian, um, Native American, Pacific Islander. All of those people are considered people with skin of color. And skin of color has a unique structure and function to it. So when I say that, when you look on the molecular level at skin of color and you compare it to Caucasian skin, you're definitely going to see some differences. So typically, Caucasian skin is much lighter than the darker melanated hues. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is that our melanocytes release a lot more melanin into our skin, which gives us the pigment that we have. So the more melanin that is released, the darker the skin hue. And so a woman like me, who's a very dark skinned woman of African descent, I am releasing a lot of melanin into my skin that gives me my dark hue. And other considerations for skin of color also include the our fiber cells. So our fibroblasts and our other fiber cells tend to be a lot larger. And so when you think of skin of color, we think about skin color, and then we also think about other aspects such as the fiber cells sizes. And so this creates some benefits, and then it also creates some areas where diseases can appear on our skin. And so, for instance, our melanated skin, we tend to get post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation or pigmentary disorders. So post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation is just the darkening of the skin whenever there's an inflammatory response in the skin. So if you look at a person of color, if we get acne, any cuts, bruises to our skin, those areas tend to darken. And then whenever there is, I'm sure you all have heard of black doesn't crack. If you notice that men and women of color from all of the groups that I mentioned, we tend to age a lot more gracefully than those with Caucasian skin. And so we tend to look a lot younger. But there's some caveats to that too, because some of us deal with keloids or other skin conditions. Specifically with keloids, is the overgrowth of these fiber cells. And so those are some of the many diseases that can occur. Then you also have vitiligo, which is the depigmentation of the skin, meaning we're losing the melanated pigment in our skin that leaves us with light splotches, and over time, that is our skin is covered with that. And so, a person that we all know, Michael Jackson, had vitiligo. So it's a whole host of diseases that we have to take into consideration when we're actually formulating products for skin of color. And they can show up as in those types of diseases, or they can show up even as dry skin, because we tend to have lower amounts of ceramides, especially for those of African descent. We tend to have lower ceramide levels and other hydrating agents that are typically in our skin, which leaves us with that dry, ashy skin. In comparison, when you look at Asian skin, they release a lot more ceramides, and so you tend to see that their skin is looks a little bit more oilier. And so there's a lot of things to take into consideration when you're formulating. And I'm a big proponent of really looking at our unique structure and function of our skin, and taking those aspects into consideration when you're creating products.
Now, this question will be for everyone on the stage. How, I mean, like, obviously there are, like, as Eunice was mentioning, some physiological changes as there is more melanin in the skin. So with that in mind, what are some of the considerations for people looking for products that might work for their skin? What are some of the considerations that they should be keeping in mind that might differ for different skin tones? What do you guys think? Lalita or Cynthia, would you like to start this one off?
Sure, I can start off. I do notice that a lot of my clients look like me. They're people of color, and they're always raving about, the vitamin C's or just different antioxidants. But I always tell them that, of course, you want to look into innovation and different derivatives of vitamin C or alternatives to vitamin C. But a lot of people have not really talked about turmeric. And I think turmeric is something that a lot of people and formulators as well should look into, because of course, the antioxidant properties and also the anti-inflammatory properties. And I've been using a turmeric clay mask for the past, I want to say, couple of months for my skin. And I've noticed a significant difference. My skin is a lot brighter. You can tell that some of my dark spots are clearing up. And just like Eunice said, with some of the different problems or skin conditions that people of color do have, are those dark spots. And turmeric is such a great ingredient for targeting the dark spots. So I would say that is definitely something on the innovative side. I do see a lot of suppliers pushing turmeric now. Before, people really weren't raving about turmeric. So I really do think that's, again, that's more on the innovative side.
Those are great points, Cindy. I definitely agree. I think I'm actually Indian. So in India, turmeric is something that has been used for a very long time. I mean, most of, it's like ancient Ayurvedic medicine. And so only recently we've been seeing a lot of brands incorporate turmeric. So I definitely really, I really do think that turmeric going forward has a lot of innovative properties. But I also wanted to add an ingredient that I think is really beneficial, is azelaic acid. And I think because first of all, it's anti-inflammatory, and it has been compared, 20% azelaic acid has been compared to a 4% hydroquinone cream. And the results found that, it was as effective or if not even more effective than hydroquinone. And I know there is a lot of hydroquinone is a controversial subject, and for skin of color, and it has caused irritation, or it has caused post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. And so I feel azelaic acid has extremely good data behind it. We have a lot of evidence to show that not only is it anti-inflammatory, but it can reduce signs of melasma, rosacea, any type of unwanted discoloration.
Esther, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so I think that one consideration that should be looked at is how certain actives perform on the skin. I'm pretty sure we've all heard of the misconception that glycolic acid is bad for people of color, and there was actually like a lot of discourse going on I want to say like late last year about saying that darker skin tones cannot use glycolic acid or alpha hydroxy acids, which is definitely not true. So I think when it comes to darker skin tones, there definitely needs to be more, how should I phrase this? More precaution, more tenderness, as of course we tend to have post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation compared to other skin colors. And but that isn't to say that we can't use it at all. So I think there needs to be better education in actives for people of color, how to use them, the formulations that they're in, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's like my main point here.
Cassandra, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm sorry. What was the question again?
I guess variability for how you might treat darker skin, or for people at home, if they do have darker skin tones, some of the things that they might want to think about in their skincare routine, and maybe how might that differ for someone with lighter skin?
I would have to, I'm going to say sunscreen. That's very important with their skincare routine, especially using a lot of these actives that may have, negative side effects when they are exposed to certain UV rays. So it's important for them to always incorporate sunscreen, some type of sun protective factor, material, or if you're a formulator, or product, if this is for your skincare routine, because Black skin, highly melanated skin does burn. And the problem is, like Eunice was saying, Black don't crack. A lot of people think they don't need sunscreen in their regime, but they do, because most Black people don't realize that they have skin cancer until they're at the latter stage of the skin cancer. Whereas other races will catch it earlier on, where it can be curable, where, Black skin, they're saying, okay, I'm fine, I don't need sunscreen, I'm fine. I don't have a problem. And then later on, they find out they're at the latest stage where, it's almost like, oh, wow, this is really bad. So that's my 2 cents for that.
And then finally, Eunice, and actually before you answer, I just want to let everyone that's in the audience know that if you have any questions or comments that you would like to chime in or ask, then raise your hand and I can invite you to the stage, and then you can ask our speakers. Eunice, would you like to go next?
Sure. So I would say that for acne, persons of color who are dealing with acne, mandelic acid is a great active ingredient to use for acne, because of the size of the molecule. It's big enough to, when it penetrates the skin, it's not going to be as irritating as some of the other acne actives. Sometimes salicylic acid and lactic acid can be a bit, and benzoyl peroxide can be a bit irritating to skin of color. And so it's always great to start off with mandelic acid. And mandelic acid doesn't just work for acne, but it works really well for hyperpigmentation. So I highly recommend it for treating both skin conditions.
We have our first guest to the stage, Francie. Or did I pronounce that wrong? Tell me how to say it. Do you have a question or comment that you'd like to chime in?
That's
Oh, sorry. It's actually Chris.
Oh, it's Chris.
I just used, so this is Franzia is my drag name. So for some things I'll just use that.
Okay, now I know. Thank you.
For sure. I actually was wondering, so for folks who don't know me, I'm a licensed esthetician based in Philly. And wondering kind of because, and some folks have touched on this already, but like in aesthetics school or in cosmetology school, you don't really get a lot of education on how to treat more melanated skin specifically in relation to lighter skin tones. And so I'm wondering if anyone on stage has resources that come to mind that folks like myself can kind of go and educate themselves further and get like a really valuable education to kind of fill that gap from what we got in school, so that when it comes to the treatment room, we are well versed in treating all skin tones.
Well, Eunice, you have a whole school over there.
Yeah. So this is my wheelhouse. I'm also an esthetician, and I train estheticians on skin of color. So we will be launching our Skin of Color Academy towards the end of May, and our first course will focus in on, just as you said, skin of color and bridging that gap, because we realize that many of the aesthetic schools have not taught this to estheticians, and it's not in the books, it's not in the curriculum, and the demographics in the US are actually changing, and it's becoming more melanated. And so more and more women of color and men of color are looking for estheticians that specialize in this particular area. So if you go to www.skinofcoloracademy.com, you can sign up to get notified when we open up our enrollment for the virtual course.
Awesome. Yes, Eunice, I actually, the other day I signed up for your wait list, so I'm very excited for that.
Awesome.
So I guess moving on to some misconceptions that are out there related to darker skin tones. I think it was Lalita that touched on hydroquinone. What's up with that? What's going on there? What are some of the misconceptions there? But also, what's going on? Lalita, since you brought it up, do you want to chime in?
Sure. You know, I don't know where it well, maybe I can take a guess, but I received a couple of DMs from you know, people that, you know, actually live in Africa and are using products containing hydroquinone. I did receive like some messages saying that they've been using products containing like over 5% hydroquinone. I mean, that is a lot, and that is here. I mean, here the allowed percentage is only up to 2% without a prescription. So I think the whole irritation and hyperpigmentation associated with hydroquinone stems from the fact that perhaps a lot of these people are using hydroquinone in a high percentage that is not suiting their skin type. And a lot of these homegrown African brands, I've noticed that they're very big on hydroquinone. And I think, you know, by using these like super high percentages or high enough to cause them irritation, I think that's kind of where I believe the controversy in hydroquinone stems from. I mean, I know that a lot of derms say that you can't use hydroquinone as a long-term treatment because that can, you know, cause hyperpigmentation. But I do believe that a lot of these other products that are selling on the market, not in the US at least, are selling high percentages of hydroquinone. Let me know what you guys think.
Well, I would like to add to that this is an issue in a lot of melanated countries and continents. So Africa, India, China, Japan, and other Asian countries, South America, the Caribbean, deal with this issue concerning hydroquinone. The problem is that these over-the-counter formulations contain mercury and other additives that can be very damaging to the skin barrier. And so the usage of a hydroquinone, it basically stems back to colorism and colonialism, when it was deemed that lighter skin is better. So in India, they have a caste system where you get better opportunities based on how light your skin is. And if you even look at the advertising, you can see that some of those companies like L'Oreal in those countries advertise for women to lighten their skin to get better jobs or a better mate, even down to actually bleaching their vaginal area. And so this is something that is, common in other parts of the world. And you'll see it here in the US. When you go into an African store, you can find those products. When you go into an Asian store or Indian grocery store, you can find those products. And it's hard to really control the export of those products into the US. And so the issue is that using those types of creams are damaging to the skin and can lead to a disease called anchronosis, which is irreversible a hyperpigmentation, and it leaves like a bluish, darkish splotches on the skin. And even for some women, when I'm doing my presentations, I have a picture of an African woman that had used hydroquinone for several years, and it left her skin barrier to be damaged to the point where she got skin cancer and died. And so that is like the big issue here in the US. Over-the-counter hydroquinone is 2%. If you were to go to a dermatologist, they'll prescribe it at 4% compounded. Your dermatologist will tell you to only utilize the hydroquinone for about 8 weeks, and then you have to stop. And then they'll put you on some other lightening or brightening agents to help you with your pigmentary disorder. So I think it's a lot of it deals with colorism and the overuse and a desire to be linked with whiteness, which could lead to better opportunities.
You made such an excellent point, Eunice. I think people just they truly don't understand that in other countries that people are adding other things than hydroquinone, which is causing that bleaching of the skin. If there's better education where we can show how to properly use hydroquinone, then that misconception about hydroquinone being bad can be easily dispelled.
And I guess along the lines, I don't know if it's along the lines. Maybe it's a stretch. But to ingredient suppliers, there's a lot of, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. A lot of ingredients with like, for example, I'm just looking at UL Prospect right now. There's Geno White. There is Nano White, Access White. All these ingredients that are the main claims around them are whitening, and I don't know what do you guys think about that? To me, it feels a little icky.
Yeah.
It feels like the industry should change their verbiage.
Yeah, I agree with you. I had a client that I sent her some of the data for some of the actives I was using in her face mask for a glow lightening effect, and when she saw the trade names of these products, ingredients from the suppliers, she was like, no, I don't want to use anything that's going to be white. This is not the Asian market. It's, I'm geared towards African American, and I don't want to use this. And like, she really did the research on some of the ingredients, and she was like, no, they only did research on Asians. They didn't do any research on Black skin. And that's another problem. They do so much research on Asian skin and Caucasian skin, but they never provide us data on Black skin or, you know, melanated skin. They don't provide that, and that's a problem.
I think that's something that definitely needs to be brought up to maybe the SEC. We actually discussed some topics to talk about, you know, during like newsletters and things like that. And Cassandra, I'm glad you said that, because I think that is something that needs to be addressed, especially if a lot of suppliers are part of the SEC. We need that data. You know, we need that data to, first, for one, to feel a little bit more comfortable talking to our clients about it. And also, you know, whatever research is needed, it has to be shown to their clients. So I definitely think that the SEC should definitely be bringing this up.
I agree with both of your points. I think it's really disappointing to continually read supplier data and just see that it's only tested on fairer skin tones. And this isn't to say that the ingredients that the suppliers are selling, it doesn't work on darker skin. I'm pretty sure they may work, but we just need the proof that they work. And this is also causes like a gap in understanding, because I've definitely been seeing on TikTok. I don't know if any of you guys are using that platform. I've been seeing this one cosmetic chemist. They kind of overgeneralize products, saying that these are good for people of color and these are bad for people of color, which doesn't necessarily make sense. And then a lot of consumers are thinking that, oh, these products are not good for me, when they don't necessarily have like that cosmetic science background. So I think there needs to be better education and just more data when it comes to more, especially clinical data when it comes to supplier information, also when it comes to clinical testing on formulations as well. So that way that we can bridge the gap of understanding about how ingredients work for darker skin tones.
Totally agree, guys. Jen, I actually had another question that I've been seeing on social media. You mind if I ask a question?
Ask away.
All right. So I've been seeing that a lot of people, a lot of content creators have been trying to just create posts on the differences between skin lightening and skin brightening. Now, to me, I don't know if there is, I don't know if it's just marketing terminology, or if there's an actual difference between somebody saying skin lightening and skin brightening. What do you guys think?
I think, to me, skin brightening refers to, I really think it refers to like the glow of someone's skin, and like you said, it definitely could be that marketing term. I know when I use a cleanser that was it Clinique or Fenty? I think it was Fenty. I used Fenty's cleanser, and I noticed that there was a certain glow to my skin. Not so much whitening, but it looked hydrated. It looked, you know, it definitely looked healthy. You know, I all day I had makeup on, and of course I was looking really oily. And when I used the cleanser, it just, like, when I looked at myself in the mirror, I'm like, wow, like my skin really looks clear. It, you know, I don't see really that many dark spots. I think that's more on the marketing side, but I get where you're coming from, where there could be confusion between the two.
I personally see, as Cynthia said, I kind of feel like skin brightening is making the skin a little bit more vibrant. I don't think it's necessarily like making the skin, I would say like evening. Let me rephrase this. So I think that skin brightening is just bringing more vibrancy to the skin, while skin lightening is, let's say, evening complexion, evening like the overall skin tone. So I think there is a difference. However, people do use it interchangeably, which causes confusion.
And then I guess to some other myths out there, and Cassandra kind of already talked about this a little bit, But there's this idea that people with darker skin, firstly, don't get sunburned, but also don't need sunscreen. True or false? And then also, is there like a sunscreen that may be better or worse? I just see there's a lot of noise online, so maybe we can clarify the noise here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I would like to hear everyone's I guess suggestions on different sunscreens, because I personally do not use sunscreen. And yes, I have seen that, of course everyone needs sunscreen, but I just have not put that into my regimen yet. But I guess it's just based off of curiosity and what products work for my skin. So I'm definitely want to hear everyone's opinion on that.
I think that everybody needs sunscreen, including darker skin tones. So I think when it comes to Black women like us, that we've definitely heard of the black don't crack mentality, and this is, I think, why it's led to a gap of understanding about why darker skin tones don't need sunscreen. They don't think that they're not going to age. They don't think that they think they're never going to get cancer, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, while our skin complexions are less prone to getting skin cancer, it's still a possibility. I'd rather we take a precautious step than not taking any steps at all. Some people use it for just like in a preventative matter, that they don't want to get hyperpigmentation. We already know that Black skin is more prone to get post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation and other forms of hyperpigmentation as well. So I think sunscreen is definitely a way to mitigate that. And then when it comes to like using or which sunscreen is better for our skin tone, I don't think there is one that's more better for us. I think the best one to use is the one that you like. I think regardless if it's chemical or physical, just find the one that works best for you. I think there's a lot of misconceptions saying that mineral sunscreens are better. That's absolutely not true. At least in my opinion. I'm definitely open to hearing everybody else's perspective. However, I don't think it's really fair to just completely remove chemical sunscreens out of the equation. As long as you're getting the necessary protection that you need, I think it's going to be beneficial overall.
So I've actually done projects on educating people of color on the importance of sunscreen. I created a campaign which was funded by Florida's Department of Health, and also a pharmaceutical company. And what we did was we created medical illustrations that depicted what skin cancer looks like in our skin. And it also talked about how sunscreens work on our skin. And we also use, multimedia. And I created this campaign because there was such a lack of information about how to use a sunscreen, what to use it for, how to protect yourself from UV rays. And so we, through that campaign, it was even more apparent that this was something that needed to be addressed. Now, when it comes to, the physical sunscreens and the chemical sunscreens, back in the day, when a person of color would use a chemical sunscreens, many of the dermatologists saw that many of their patients were getting reactions to the chemical sunscreens. So that's where the notion was brought up that chemical sunscreens are not great for our skin because they cause, contact dermatitis. And so physical, sunscreens were promoted, although physical sunscreens left a white cast on our skin. Now, there's new technology on both sides, physical and chemical. So now you're not seeing the same type of irritation that you would have seen in the past. So that's where it came from years of, Black dermatologists and other dermatologists seeing that when their clients, would use chemical sunscreens, they got irritation. And in fact, I have my best friend, she's in derm residency, and she can't use a chemical sunscreen because it's irritating to her skin. It just depends. I think there's new technology when it comes to sunscreens, and things have gotten a lot better. But I do want folks to know that just because you use a sunscreen doesn't mean that it's going to prevent you from getting skin cancer, especially when you're a person of color. You can get skin cancer orally, you can get skin cancer vaginally, and you can get skin cancer in other places where the sun doesn't shine. And so that's where we have to really think about, well, why are, persons of color getting skin cancer in those places, and those places tend to be covered up.
And to add to that, the thing about using sunscreen is, even when you use sunscreen, let's say, for example, I'm using a sunscreen now and I'm fine. I don't get burned, whatever. And then a month later, I'm on a certain medication, like, for example, high blood pressure medication. That tends to make your skin sensitive. There's a lot of medications out there that make your skin sensitive. There are also diseases out there that'll make your skin sensitive and more prone to getting UV damage. So it's always best to just put that sunscreen on, regardless what color you are, how much melanin you have in your skin. Just put it on and just be safe.
Definitely agree with all the points. I definitely think that the best sunscreen is the one that you will use consistently every single day. I also know that it's not always possible to reapply. I've got a lot of messages, asking me, well, I wear makeup and, I have foundation on. How can I possibly reapply? And, that's hard, because it's not easy to, take reapply your sunscreen over your makeup. So I think the best thing you can do is, at least before you leave the house, you're applying the appropriate amount that you need. And so at least you have some initial protection. And yeah, if reapplication is not a possibility, I also suggest maybe just, I don't know, wear a hat or sunglasses, or, these days with the mask, I don't know if that's really protecting you, but that's also helpful to some degree with everything going on right now. But I do know that reapplication is an issue. So at least before you leave, if you apply the appropriate amount, at least that's good.
And I just want to add, I just came back from Florida and I spent one day at the pool, not even the whole day, maybe like 4 hours. And I put sunscreen on. I did not reapply, and I'm peeling. I'm from Florida. I no longer live there. But to me, I'm like, this has never happened. Like in Florida, when I lived there, I was in the sun all the time. Sometimes I had sunscreen on, sometimes I didn't. And I don't know what's going on with the environment, with the atmosphere, but I think we're in a time where we really need to protect our skin and protect our health.
Absolutely. Like, I'm on Twitter like a good amount of the time, and I see a lot of people of color in the very old mindset that's saying, oh, our skin has natural SPF. It is fine. It can protect us against UV radiation. That's what people back in the days used to do, but we're not back in the days anymore. It's 2021. Okay, the environment's different. The ozone is different. Everything is different. There's global warming as well.
Our food is different. What we're eating is different.
Yes, exactly. So it's like, I'm tired of people kind of bringing up that old notion, and it's just better just to protect our overall health. I read, because I'm doing a lot of research on hyperpigmentation, and I read that about the gap of understanding about when it comes to people of color, we tend to under apply sunscreen, or just not apply sunscreen at all, or just not consistent with it. And I think what's great that I see nowadays is that we're seeing more people of color, especially in dermatology, showing the importance of applying the correct amount of sunscreen, how to reapply sunscreen. especially just about how to use sunscreen for people of color, just showing how it's important. So I think the more people that we see in these professions, that overall it's gonna bridge the gap between this lack of understanding about sunscreen.
And now maybe to another misconception, Esther, you brought this to my attention beforehand, that there are brands that are, I guess, marketing that their products are just exclusively for people of color. What's going on with that? Are there products that should be, I guess, from that marketing, it might convince people to believe those products would only be good for people of color, and that other products might not be good for people of color? Esther, because you brought this up, do you want to chime in first? What do you think? And also, where's this coming from? What social media posts have you seen? Or maybe you don't have to call out the brand specifically, but yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna name. I mean, I don't know if people have seen it, but it's a brand that's owned by Unilever. They just, I don't know when they released this brand, but it just
I know
happened.
what you're talking about.
Okay, you saw it too. Yes. So this just, I think it got released this year or maybe late last year, and I saw the marketing behind it saying it was exclusively for people of color, and then part of it, actually not all of it, just bothered me. The marketing bothered me because it just causes so much confusion that Black skin is like this monolith, that is like this very unique thing that has like this very special property that needs to be treated in this very, very special way. And I know I was telling you guys earlier about this one chemist on TikTok that is saying that this product is bad for people of color, this product is good for people of color. That is also contributing to more confusion, because then people are going to think that certain products aren't for them with absolutely no context. I love how brands are now including people of color dermatologists on their advising team for formulations and whatnot. But then to say that specific products are only for people of color, I don't think that's a very good approach.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. What about Korean skincare?
That's a good one. And I'll come in and say that my brand is solely for skin of color. So when I'm formulating, I only think about I only think about the unique structure of skin of color and the problems that need to be solved, addressing our needs. I don't, a lot of these larger brands, they tend to look at it from a perspective of one size fits all, which is not true. And the truth is that we experience different types of disease conditions. So, for instance, a person with hyperpigmentation, yes, a big box brand that may use a common skin active, brightening active in their product. Yes, we all know that works. But when you're thinking about a person with skin of color, you can't just think about the utilization of that active alone. You also have to think about our skin tends to get a little bit more irritated than others, and there's studies that have shown that. So, for me, when I am formulating, I think about our skin first. Not to say that our products won't work on Caucasian skin, but I think about Black skin, Asian skin, Middle Eastern skin, Native American skin, Latino skin. I think about that first when I'm formulating. And I think there is definitely a place for and a need for it. As I, talk to other dermatologists, and they're seeing clients that have skin diseases that go well beyond just, acne and hyperpigmentation, that have not gone addressed. And these big companies don't see the problem. They don't see the need to solve it. And so for me, that's where I step in.
Cassandra, can you expand on your point? Sorry, you got cut off.
Yeah, I was saying that, for a long time they were promoting K-beauty, K-beauty, K-beauty. And it's like, for African Americans, it's like, no one, again, is putting in the research. No one is saying, hey, this is specifically for you because you guys have this issue with your skin, with, hyperpigmentation, with, the thickening of the skin, like all the issues that we may have, along with the diseases that are specific for Black people, African Americans, like, for example, sickle cell anemia and lupus, those type of things, which would make your skin sensitive. So I think, with K-Beauty, they promoted that so much, and they had that, and we didn't have anything. So for someone like Eunice to say, hey, we don't have anything, and we need to open an academy so that you understand why we need these things and why you have to do it right. I think that's needed, and I think that's great that she's doing that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I like Eunice's approach. I feel like when brands, the brand that is owned by Unilever, I don't like how their approach, because sometimes these brands do not give any context about why these products are quote unquote exclusively for people of color, which is like why I feel like that it's causing confusion, especially for consumers, because some consumers are definitely not aware of a lot of the skin concerns that are very common with our skin complexion. So then people are, like I said earlier, people are going to think that certain products are not for them, when that's not necessarily true. And then when we think about it from a formulation aspect, all of us still have access to the same. Oh my God, I am so sorry. That is my dog.
I was gonna. Oh,
Can I ask you what the name of the brand is? Because I'm not familiar with what you're talking about.
yeah, I can say it. Oh,
okay,
go ahead,
girl.
Esther.
No, go ahead.
No, I was
sorry.
going to say Melee. They actually reached out to me several weeks ago, so they've been watching and they're inquiring on how to partner.
Yeah. So, sorry, got cut off because of my dog. But another point that I want to bring up is that when it comes to us like formulators, we all have access to the same raw materials that these brands are claiming is exclusive for people of color. So that's also what's confusing too. So from my standpoint, I just don't like how it causes confusion. I just think it can be portrayed in a better way, kind of like how Eunice is doing it. I think if people took Eunice's approach, I would definitely be okay with it.
Right. Eunice is authentic. The thing is, with these big brands, they jump on what's hot. So Black Lives Movement is hot. So they want to support a Black brand. They want to say, hey, what can we do for, the Black community? So they'll get their chemists and whip something up, and get the marketing people will whip up a story. And this is why you feel this way, because, they do that. We talked about that before. So
yes,
I think you're absolutely correct. They're not authentic like, Eunice is.
I agree. A lot of folks have just jumped on the whole Black Lives movement. And I mean, there's data to show that we do spend a lot of money on beauty products, and the skincare sector is growing. And you can make a lot of money in skincare. The margins are really, really good. And so, of course, Unilever and, other big companies, they're looking at ways to be able to address skin of color. Now you have other larger companies like Johnson and Johnson that are trying to create initiatives for scientists that are creating products for skin of color. So now, unfortunately, it took a man's death last year for these companies to sort of open their eyes and say, oh, there is a need.
Absolutely, I agree.
So we've been talking for just under an hour now. So probably this will be my last question to you guys. I'm sure there are a lot of other misconceptions that we didn't get to cover in this chat. So I guess my final question here is, are there any misconceptions out there that kind of bother you and you just want to get off your shoulders and share it here? Or are there any take homes that you'd want to give, especially to the industry, or like we brought up some ingredient supplier issues that you would like to share to, I don't know, maybe ingredient suppliers might change the names of their ingredients or things like that, or might do clinical testing on people with darker skin tones or things like that, things that you would want to leave to the industry to maybe do things better in the future. Cynthia, would you like to start this one this time?
Yeah, I was just about to ask how you guys feel about Credo Clean. I have seen an enormous amount of clients saying that they want their product to be Credo Clean, and of course, it brings limitations to formulating. And I'm a big fan of PEG 40 hydrogenated castor oil. And when I was making a toner for a young lady and she said, "Oh, I want to be Credo Clean," I just noticed I couldn't use that. So how do you guys feel about the Credo Clean movement?
Honestly, I'm not like fully aware about Credo Clean, but I'm anti-clean anything. So that's just my that's my standpoint there.
Totally with you.
I'm with Esther.
Esther, I'm totally with
Yeah,
Esther.
I
I think
agree.
we're all
I'm so over
anti-clean.
it.
I'm so over it.
And the crazy part is, like, working at my old job, when suppliers used to talk about clean beauty, I was very like intrigued and interested in what is clean beauty. And then I did a capstone on exfoliation from like the microplastics and all that stuff. And then once I moved into my own business as far as like full time, clean just was like, oh my gosh, watered down. It was so much going on. And then this whole Credo Clean, I didn't understand who's creating Credo Clean, like who's creating these different things. But I guess we don't really need to talk more about that since everybody's on the same page.
Lalita, would you like to go next?
Sure. I was just going to add and say, no, I agree with what everyone's saying. I think at the end of the day, if you find a product that works for you, continue using it. If it's not causing you irritation, if it's working well for you and you see results, regardless of what it says, what the marketing says, I say, hey, continue using it. And that's my take on any skincare product.
Esther, would you like to go next?
I absolutely agree with I enjoy this discussion. I just want to say I enjoyed talking to everybody here today. Definitely going on, oh my god, I cannot speak today. Adding on to what Lalita was saying, definitely use what's best for you. Wear sunscreen, please wear sunscreen. Religiously, emphasis on religiously. And definitely when starting to incorporate actives, definitely be more aware of the precautions to take. Pay attention to how to use certain actives. Don't overuse them. That's like my main points to take away today.
Cassandra, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm with Esther again with the sunscreen. I think when it comes to skin with high melanin, that you need to use sunscreen. And even though you can get skin cancer without having to be in the sun or have covered parts, like Eunice said, I think that also has to do with your with whatever you're going through as far as your system is going through with your diet or your medicines or whatever your system is going through. So I would just say always use sunscreen. And the fact that I'm noticing that I'm burning this fast in the United States. So, like, I didn't go to Mexico or anything, and I wasn't in the sun that long, and I did apply sunscreen. It's kind of scary for me. So I just really emphasize to use sunscreen.
And last but not least, Eunice.
I would say that, you know, for cosmetic chemists, I would like to see more cosmetic chemists do research in the area of skin of color and really think about it, holistically, think about all the determinants, cultural determinants, physiological determinants, cultural practice determinants, and how people of color from around the world see themselves when it comes to their skin and how they treat their skin diseases. I think looking at it from a holistic view will create some innovation in the space. And then for the consumer, I would say, really take the time to educate yourself. And these ladies on the stage, they all, provide some education through their social media platforms. So make sure you follow them. Make sure you're listening to sound advice when it comes to your skincare needs. And be patient with yourself, be patient with your skin, because it does take time for many of these skin diseases to get some results, or for you to get results when you're treating your skin. And so you don't want to just use a product one day and say it doesn't work. It takes, several weeks to see the results. So be patient with yourself, be patient with your skin.
Well, I hope the people in the audience enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I learned so much from you guys. Thank you so much for agreeing to participate, especially moving from Clubhouse to our Discord. To our Discord users, especially the ones that voted that you wanted to see this chat on Discord and then didn't show up. Next week, if we do it again, come join us so that we have a bigger group, because then you guys can participate in the chat and then we'll have an even livelier conversation that we had tonight. Although I think tonight's conversation was pretty lively and interesting. So thank you so much to our speakers. If you guys in the audience have any suggestions for a future topic for one of our Chemist Dish Wednesday series, or we're doing a lot of these on Discord now that this feature has launched. I just love it. So stay tuned. I'm going to be featuring lots of conversations like this. So any topic suggestions, leave that in the webinar chat, and I'll try to get a group of relevant experts together to have a conversation. And then the final thing that I'll say is next week, if you didn't hear this already or haven't seen this as an update in the webinar chat, we're going to be hosting a careers night where we're going to be featuring quite a few different companies, featuring pretty much all aspects of the industry, from marketing to formulation to regulatory to even sustainable development. We're going to be talking about career opportunities so it's going to have a panel followed by a breakout session. For each of the company will have their own rooms for you to ask them questions directly. If you are interested in a career in the cosmetics industry, please come. We'll be publishing the live chat, the panel afterwards, but I think that the breakout rooms will be really valuable. So hopefully you guys see value in it and come out, and it's helpful for you guys for your career journey. But with that, I will leave you to the rest of your night. Thank you to everyone for joining in our audience, and especially thank you to our fabulous speakers for agreeing to participate in this chat.